The headset crackled as voices reported strange blips on the radar. His hands trembled slightly over the console as alarms flashed red. The night of September 26, 1983, was cold and silent in the outskirts of Moscow, yet inside the Serpukhov 15 bunker, tension filled the air like a physical weight. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, stationed in the top-secret Soviet early warning facility, adjusted his vintage headphones over his ears. The hum of machinery, blinking radar monitors, and faint electrical buzz created a symphony of vigilance, a reminder that any false move could cost millions of lives. Petrov had been on duty for hours, monitoring the system with methodical precision. His hands hovered over the console, eyes scanning the flickering screens. Outside, the world was asleep, oblivious to the possibility of annihilation that lingered in the dimly lit bunker. Every man there knew that a single signal could trigger an irreversible chain of events. At 0:15, the unexpected happened. 5 bright red blips appeared on the radar. The automated alarm system screamed its warning. Petrov's heart raced, but he forced himself to think clearly. Protocol demanded immediate action, to report an incoming U.S. missile strike to superiors, who would retaliate instantly. Yet something was off. 5 missiles. Too few for a real attack. Patterns did not align with historical launch trajectories. Petrov took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of panic inside him. He remembered the countless training exercises, the theoretical scenarios, the simulations that never fully prepared a human being for the reality of holding the fate of the world in their hands. He scrutinized the data, checking for errors, cross-referencing the satellite images, analyzing timing and flight paths. His mind raced with calculations while his body tensed with anticipation. Minutes passed like hours. The lights of the consoles cast sharp shadows across his face, highlighting every bead of sweat. The hum of electronics, once comforting, now amplified the tension. Petrov's mind replayed what would happen if he made a wrong choice. One call, one wrong report, and nuclear war would erupt, annihilating cities and millions of lives. He considered the possibilities. If he reported the strike and it was real, the retaliation would be instantaneous. If it was a false alarm, billions would pay for a system malfunction. Human judgment, not automation, was the only safeguard. The thought of so much depending on his decision was almost paralyzing. Petrov scanned the monitors again. Sunlight reflecting off clouds at high altitudes had caused the sensors to misinterpret signals. It didn't fit the profile of a real attack. His intuition, honed by years of experience, told him the alarm was false. Against the protocol, against every warning system, he chose to not report it as an attack. Time slowed. Every second felt stretched to eternity. He waited, watching the radar screens, listening to the static and voices in the headset. The alarms continued, red lights blinking in urgent warning, but he remained calm. Slowly, the truth became clear, it was a system malfunction. No missiles were incoming. Petrov had prevented a nuclear disaster. The weight of what he had done settled upon him. The decision to trust human judgment over automated systems had spared millions of lives. Yet no one knew. The incident was classified, hidden deep within Soviet military archives. Petrov returned to routine duties, carrying a secret that no one could share. The fear of what could have happened, and the knowledge that a single human action had averted catastrophe, lingered silently in his mind. For years, Petrov's actions remained unknown. He lived modestly, avoiding public attention, never speaking of that night. Only decades later did journalists and historians uncover the story. The man who had saved the world from nuclear annihilation became known to the public. Awards were given, yet he remained humble, insisting he had only done his duty. The Cold War had forged a world of tension, paranoia, and technological might. Systems capable of instantaneous retaliation left no room for error. Human judgment became the ultimate safeguard, and Petrov's calm reasoning in the heat of the moment proved to be the difference between life and death on a global scale. Petrov's quiet heroism serves as a reminder of the fragility of human civilization, especially in an era dominated by nuclear weapons. His story is not just about courage, it is about the responsibility borne by individuals entrusted with immense power. It demonstrates the delicate balance between machine automation and human intuition. As the years passed, Petrov reflected on that night in the bunker. He remembered the blinking red lights, the hum of the equipment, the tension in the air, and the cold sweat on his forehead. He remembered the silence between alarms, the weight of responsibility pressing down, the knowledge that the world hung in the balance based on his actions alone. He also remembered the fear. Fear not for himself, but for humanity. Fear that one day, a machine might make a wrong calculation and no human judgment would be there to prevent disaster. That fear drove him to caution, to thorough analysis, and ultimately, to the decision that saved millions. Even after the Cold War ended, the lessons remained. Nuclear weapons were still a reality, technological systems could fail, and human vigilance was still required. Petrov's night in September 1983 is a case study in courage, foresight, and the power of rational decision-making under extreme stress. The Serpukhov 15 bunker, with its blinking monitors, dim lighting, and cold concrete walls, remains a symbol of the thin line between survival and annihilation. Petrov's calm presence, his ability to weigh evidence, and his courage under pressure are a testament to what human judgment can achieve, even in a world dominated by the threat of instant destruction. As he grew older, Petrov became an advocate for awareness. He spoke rarely, but when he did, he stressed the importance of human oversight, the dangers of relying solely on machines, and the ethical responsibility inherent in wielding power. He understood that the fate of nations could rest on a single person's decision, and he had lived that reality. His story is more than history, it is a moral lesson, a human drama, and a warning. It demonstrates how one individual, acting with courage and clarity, can change the course of the world. Every detail of that night, the radar screens, the alarms, the headset, the sweat on his forehead, the sound of the machinery, stands as a vivid reminder that the future is never certain, and that human judgment is irreplaceable. The red lights on the radar slowly dimmed, leaving only the soft glow of standby monitors. Petrov remained in his chair, motionless, headphones pressed tightly against his ears, as if the tension had seeped into his very bones. Every sound in the bunker felt amplified, the faint hum of the ventilation, the soft click of equipment, even the distant echoes of footsteps from corridors he couldn't see. His hands, still hovering above the console, trembled slightly. He replayed the moments in his mind, the alarms screaming, the blinking lights, the cold calculations racing through his brain. He had made a choice that no training could have truly prepared him for. A choice that could have ended the world. And now, as silence returned, he allowed himself to feel the weight of relief, and the lingering shadow of fear. Petrov's eyes scanned the monitors one last time. Everything appeared normal, yet he could not shake the feeling of vulnerability. The system had been fallible, and he had been the thin line between survival and annihilation. That knowledge would stay with him forever. The fate of millions, and indeed the fate of civilization, had rested on his judgment alone. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly, and allowed himself a moment to close his eyes. He imagined the cities he had unknowingly saved, the bustling streets, the children playing, the families asleep, oblivious to how close they had come to destruction. A quiet gratitude filled him, but also an enduring sense of responsibility. He knew that one mistake, one lapse in judgment, could undo it all. The bunker felt colder now, the silence heavier. Petrov glanced at the other consoles, each man and woman still diligently watching their screens, unaware of the specific disaster that had almost occurred. He realized that the world would never truly know the details of this night. Yet the weight of his actions, and the knowledge of the lives saved, was enough. That alone mattered. Outside, the first hints of dawn began to brush the horizon. A pale light touched the sky, but inside the bunker, it remained dim, a reminder that the threat of nuclear war had not disappeared, it had only been deferred. Petrov removed his headphones, rubbing his temples, the tension in his neck slowly easing. He felt a strange combination of exhaustion and clarity. He had done what no one else could. He had chosen reason over fear, intuition over protocol. For the next several minutes, he sat in silence, reflecting on the fragility of life and the profound responsibility placed upon individuals in a world of instant annihilation. The machines, no matter how advanced, were powerless without human judgment. That night had proven that one person, calm and rational under pressure, could indeed save the world. Petrov finally rose from his chair, walking slowly to the exit of the bunker. The concrete walls, the blinking lights, and the endless rows of consoles receded behind him. He stepped outside into the cold morning air, breathing deeply. The world above continued, unaware of how close it had come to disaster. Yet Petrov understood, in that quiet moment, that the line between life and destruction was thinner than anyone could imagine, and that human courage had bridged that gap. As he walked away from the bunker, the weight on his shoulders remained, but it was tempered by a sense of purpose. He had faced the unimaginable, and he had chosen wisely. The world had survived another day, and he, an ordinary man in extraordinary circumstances, had ensured it. Even decades later, the lessons of that night remained relevant. Nuclear weapons still existed. Technology still had vulnerabilities. But Petrov's story reminded humanity that, sometimes, the fate of the world does not rest in machines, protocols, or power alone, it rests in the hands of those capable of calm reasoning, ethical responsibility, and unwavering courage under pressure. The bunker would continue to exist, the systems would continue to monitor, and humanity would continue to face threats. But for one night, one man had stood between civilization and destruction, proving that even in the darkest, most high-stakes moments, human judgment could prevail. And as the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, Petrov walked away into history, a man who saved the world, quietly, without fanfare, but with courage that echoed across time.